This is just to give you guys an in-depth idea of few concepts. Let me know if my audio breaks at any time, but I think this should be better now.
Yeah, we are good.
So yeah, I think we okay, perfect. So I think we did discuss about two aspects at the beginning. When you guys kind of got inducted to the course, and I think there was a question on hyper automation, and then I introduced one more term to you guys called as intelligent process automation (IPA). So quickly, we're going to emphasize on these two specific terms. So I'm not taking the typical approach of creating a presentation and things like that, because I wanted you guys to go through certain additional material. Like, it doesn't become possible to put everything inside a deck. But yeah, since this will be recorded, you can obviously refer it back. So that's why I wanted to just have an a different approach here, just to show you certain blogs and important aspects and points as well, right? So if you look into the UiPath's website, right, so they generally have written about all the major topics that confines or that belong to the RPA world right now. Okay, so hyper automation is a buzzword that has come up of late. Let's say the duration would be hardly a year. So like if you go back to 2013 or 2014 or 2015, that period where the buzzword was RPA, 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 and it kind of took the industry by storm across the globe, right? So now RPA has kind of become pretty much common. I would not say the word common, but been people have known this term and this technology over these years. Now the problem is, with the rapid change in the technology mindset of the industry. Now, and at this juncture of the world, you cannot just rely that, for example, I say this example pretty much. If you see the .NET and the Java developer, you know, there was a kind of monopoly of Java and .NET back in the 90s and in the early 2000s. And Java and .NET developers, existed for a decade, where they just kind of ruled the job market. Like if I go back and look the early 2000 days, like 2007, 8, 9, being a Java developer, you were the king in the market. Post that it was .NET, right? So then they took a lot of time for themselves to kind of disbalance from the global market. But RPA, even though it came pretty new in 2015, 2016 and hit the market, it also got it also saw the evolution of technology very fast. So it did not only stick to robotic process automation, the typical robotic process automation definition that we know, that is that we have a thumb rule. So when we have something high volume, when we have something repetitive, when we have something digitally triggered, and when we have a stable process, we go for an automation. Now, and we have seen throughout our entire course that it's not only about automation, right? There are various other aspects that gets into the engine or the cycle of a robotic process automation, right? And we have learned through a bunch of concepts and functionalities in our entire course for the last 1.5 or 2 months, right? Now, if you see, go back to the very initial videos that you would have seen, where we speak about the various phases of an RPA life cycle. Now, I always say this example as well. RPA life cycle, which we call it as, robot development life cycle, compared with the typical software development life cycle. So previously, when anybody used to develop a software, let's say I want to develop an application or an Oracle ERP for you, right? So that would have gone through an SDLC, software development lifecycle, where the phases would have been First they would have identified the requirement, then they would have gone with the design, then they would have gone with the solution, then they would have gone with the development, then they would have gone with the testing, then they would have gone with implementation or deployment, and then they would have gone with the support. So this entire chain is what is an SDLC. Now, similarly, the RDLC, robot development life cycle, also goes through a similar chain. Now, what is the first thing? The first step is here, if you can see, is something called as discover. So the nomenclature could be here and there, but the entire concept of life cycle remains the same. So discover is nothing but your requirement identification. So your automation opportunities, it says powered by AI, and I will come to this part. Then comes build, where you identify your discovery or discover your requirements of your automation. Then you develop those automation solution using your RPA platform. Then you manage those by deployment or by monitoring and things like that. Then you run the automation in terms of your software robots to execute your task. Like I have shown you last week that a robot was able to dynamically read the IDs from an Excel file and place it in a waveform where the content of the waveform is dynamically changing, right? But it is able to identify where is my first name, where is my last name, where is my address, where is my company name, irrespective of the alignment of all those attributes, right? Then we move on to engage. Now this engage is just an additional plugin in the concept of RPA. Now engage says, generally what happens, engage portion was not there when I talk about 2 and 3.5 years back. Engage portion was not there as a part of RPA development lifecycle. It has been a new plugin. Okay, and engage says that this phase of the lifecycle says I want a better collaboration between my human and the robot that I'm developing. Now what does that mean? Now, what happens is UiPath has come up with a new concept called as, not UiPath, in the RPA market. So whatever, new thing that you see in UiPath or automation in your Blue Prism, if UiPath comes with a new concept, 1 or 2 months later, the same concept would be used. You would find in automation anywhere in Blue Prism also, but might be in a different way or a tweaked way, right? If Blue Prism comes up with a new thing, it will automatically find a similar, analysis or similar, feature in your this thing, a UiPath or Blue Prism as well, automation anywhere as well, right? So engage says whenever there is so what we used to do, I'll come to engage, let me finish the measure. The measure helps you to identify the performances of your entire RPA infrastructure. Now what is measure? Let's say I have 30 to 40 bots. Let's say I have 40 bots running on my infrastructure today. That means this 40 bot, let's say, is able to run almost 100 processes. Now, if I don't measure the performance and the criterias and the health of all my robots, softwares, and my servers and performances and all my robot outcomes, I would not be in a position to say where do I stand. So what they've done is, so all these robot performance analysis, health of the robot infrastructure outcome is kind of binded with something called as analytics. Now why? Now if I have a huge infrastructure of 100 robots or let's say 200 robots running across the organization, okay, in different teams, how do I see which bot is failing? I cannot keep a people to keep an eye on all 200 bots. So that got embedded with analytics, where the analytics is able to show me which bot is working, what is the performance of the bot, which bot is degraded in the performance, if any bot is taking more than execution time, how many failed jobs are there today, how many tasks did not complete, how many alert email got triggered, how many notifications has come in for reviewing of any of the environment. 30 to 40 surrounding things are there, which you cannot do visually by keeping some people. You need the technology power of analytics there. Now, what the analytics plugin and the engage plugin was a additional concept in RDLC just to boost the concept of RPA to to other technologies as well. Now, what does engage say? Now, usually what happens is we used to say that any task that is, how do I say? Any task which doesn't have human intervention is automation potential in RPA. That was the early definition. But now with engage coming in, we don't anymore say that if there is any human dependency in the task, I should not be automating it. No, that say doesn't stand valid now. So with engage, we have got certain powerful technology that even though I design a robot, let's say there is a payment process that I'm automating. Okay. Now, whenever there is a payment related issue, when it's related to any currency and there's a dollar involved, every process or SME or manager or account wants that, okay, it should be double checked or cross checked by a human as well. So now let's say I'm automating a payment process, an account payable process. Like when my company, what is account payable? So let's say my company and your companies are partners. We have exchanged some service. You have given me the invoice or the bill. So my company is going to send the payout to you, right? So the invoice has to be processed, right? That's called account payable. And it has a lot of steps to follow. So let's say we have automated any of the accounts payable process, right? And there's a dollar amount that the bot is trying to generate based on the calculation. Let's say I need to pay you $20,000. Now the invoice processing has been done by the bot and the calculation is performed and it has shown that the amount that I need to pay you is $20,000. Now what I do, I want to create a human checkpoint after the bot creates performs the calculation and gets the amount ready. And before this amount gets into my ERP for an update, I want a human to validate this $20,000 calculated by the robot is correct or not. That means I am creating a human layer where I am also creating a second level of cross verification by human because machines can go wrong, right? So now till the human robot performs the calculation and keeps the amount ready, and then another portion of the robot copies this amount and puts it into an ERP for the payment to release, I have a human validation. Now you would ask me, hey Paul, so how the bot will work? The bot is creating the amount here and then it is waiting for some time, or how it will work, then how the second portion of the bot will work, right? The concept is with engage, there is a task that the bot will go ahead and create for the human. So we have to code it in such a way that whenever there is an amount validation comes, I will put a condition that, hey, once you create this amount, go and create a task for the human to approve and go for an infinite, go for it and just go and wait in the queue. Unless and until the human verifies, you should not be triggering the next process. So what the code will do is, so the code will run in such a way that as soon as the bot makes this $20,000 ready, it will also go and create a task for that same person or whoever is monitoring that entire console. It will go and create a task that, hey, and it will trigger a notification by UiPath that, hey, there's a task created for you to go and validate, and the program and the robot will go into a wait condition unless and until this is approved. Now the moment the human verifies the amount and sees, okay, $20,000 is correct, there is a button, click approve. This approve triggers a notification back to the bot that, hey, this human task which you created is approved, please move ahead. So this entire mechanism works in such a way that the moment you approve, it triggers an input to the bot, then the bot receives this input trigger, starts executing the second term of the process where it will go ahead and update the amount in an ERP. So this is what is called as engage humans and robots collaboration in the automation process. So before I move ahead, any question till now?
I have a question. Now that when you go into the blogs, some people are afraid that these robots will take over their jobs. Do you think because they added the engage is going to help people retain their jobs and the robots won't take over?
Uh, that's yeah. So I would say that's a different perspective of looking into this concept. Engage of human collaboration with the bot. I would not say that it will entirely comply with the concept that even human or people are not going to lose their job. That's completely different approach. Might be 10% or 12 15% of the concept complies with this rule, that if I have a human bot collaboration, I would definitely need a person to be there to approve the final findings of the bot. Yes, that applies, but I would say that would contribute or constitute only to 10 to 12% of the concept. But the concept of bringing an human engage in the loop is not to kind of say it in that area that the jobs will be left, the jobs will be not going, but it was actually to increase the scope of RPA, because there have been a lot of processes where you need a human validation or a double check or a cross checking. So those processes used to be obsolete as a part of RPA automation strategy, because you always need somebody to verify in the middle, and you just cannot rely on a robot. So to get in those processes and increase the bucket of the scope of RPA, this concept has been applied. But I would not say this would 100%, very very small extent. Let's say even though let's say we connect it to the FT release. Now let's say this process I'm talking about, there is a 10 FT, 10 people are working in this. Now do you think even though I automate and there is a human robot collaboration, I would still need 10 people? No, right? I can keep 2 people at the max who can just do these validations and work in rotation. Let's say for 9 hours, I keep 2 people in 2 different shifts, 8 hours, 8 hours each. My job is done, right? It's a business strategy. How do I implement and take a cost benefit out of it? So that depends on company to company, strategy to strategy, how they want to handle things and manage things, right?
Right. Thank you.
That answers your question. Yeah. So now, so all these various phases that I spoke about are itself a part of technological RPA evolution. Now, what does hyperautomation say? That okay, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 phases of your sort of robot development life cycle, and you have lot of manual activities in each of your life cycle. Now, hyperautomation brings out the concept that I can go ahead and even automate all these 6 different steps that you follow in your RPA development lifecycle. So that's why it says, what are the benefits of hyperautomation? Or if you want to see, it says rapidly identify and automate all business processes with an evolving set of AI technology. Now that's where I come in to discover with the power of AI. Now, even though let's say you are starting new and you have 10 different processes in your organization to start. Now you as an SME or as an expert is not enough trained or conceptually, pretty high. You are not able to decide that which one should you take as your pilot project, or what are the projects out of these 10 projects would suit as your RPA journey is beginning, and your RPA will not fail, and your RPA will be successful if you take certain projects. So what will be the number of projects or those projects out of those 10 projects that you want to choose? We used to do a human validation. Okay, human and SME would sit and analyze and everything, benefits, outcome, and all those things. But they said, okay, why we even need a human to do that? Let's bring in the power of AI and bring some conceptualized tool which can take input of all the 10 processes that I have. Let's say that engine AI engine will understand, ask you 10 different questions, or let's say I'm changing the number, 15 different questions for each of your process. Okay. So you answer every question of 15 question for all the 10 processes. Then the engine takes your answer as an input, does a permutation and combination and kind of analysis at the back based on certain AI driven logic, and tell you that, boss, out of the 10 processes that you have, where you have answered all these 15 questions, I find that the process number 6 and 7 would be beneficiary for you if you implement an RP. So now it becomes easy for you, rather than you being confused of which one to take out of 10. It is precisely telling you go with the process 6 and 7. I'm just explicitly giving a number. It might give you the process name, because one of the question might be what is the process name, right? So you can give process 1, process 2, process 3. So I'm saying it will explicitly tell you, okay, this process 6 and process 8 will give you benefit in terms of all the questions that you have filled in. So without any hesitation, you can start working on the development of the process 6 and the 7 and go it with the next step to build the automation. To build, we already have a tool. To manage and deploy, to build, we have UiPath Orchestrator, a UiPath Studio. To manage and deploy, we have Orchestrator. To run, we have UiPath Robot. To do human collaboration, we have UiPath Engage, which is integrated with UiPath Orchestrator. And for measure, we have something called as UiPath Analytics, which will give you the powerful concept of bringing in the ROI analysis, what my bots are doing, where my bots are lying, and all those things. Right? So this is what the power of hyper automation, guys. This is newly trending into the market. Right from my process identification to where my bot is failing, everything is tracked and everything has a respective platform and the technology behind it. So this is what is hyper automation. So hyper automation is actually a virtue or a concept which brings in several components of process automation, integrating tools and techniques that amplify the ability to automate work. It's not a rocket science. It's just that within the RPA, whatever sub processes we used to do manually, that itself are getting automated. So it starts with RPA at the core and expands its capability to AI, process mining, analytics, and other advanced tools. So this is what is the overall concept of hyper automation.
So
Yeah,
Paul,
I have one question.
just to confirm, yeah? So you're saying that the AI engine is embedded within the UiPath tool, right? It's not like something that is externally and has to be.
No. So now what UiPath and other companies have done is, apart from your studio, orchestrator, and robot, all these things they have made it as an individual platform. So UiPath Analytics will actually give you, I forgot, they name it as UiPath Insights. Okay. So UiPath Insight is their analytical solution of your tracking, measuring, forecasting the performance, your enterprise level infrastructure monitoring, and everything. So these all are independent products of UiPath nowadays. If you go to product of UiPath, see UiPath Insight. UiPath Insight is a separate product. So if you need that benefit or feature, you need to buy that license of UiPath Insight. It doesn't come for with you as a free service. If you have a UiPath robot or orchestrator or something, nothing comes free. So all these are additional services by UiPath for all the different phases of your RPA life cycle. Whichever product you need, let's say for discovery, they have 3 to 4 products. They have process mining. If I go more in depth, process mining will take all your process related data and the tool will run some permutation and combination and help you to identify the processes. If you have task mining, like within the processes you have a lot of tasks and you don't know which task to prioritize, you can still do a task mining at a very granular level. So all these are products of UiPath. So at each and every phase, let's say I need AI Fabric. So AI Fabric is the integration of orchestrator with an AI engine. So as I told you once, right, we are currently doing a lot of sentiment analysis, textual analysis. If customers are giving me verbal comments in statements, how do I take these statements into an engine and understand whether it's a positive feedback or a negative feedback? All these runs on AI. So AI fabric is associated with a lot of pre-built models like sentiment analysis, emotion analysis, voice detector. All these things gets there. So this gets implemented. So if you have an use case and you want to buy AI fabric from UiPath, you can go and buy the license and start using it. So each of these concept has been converted into a product. It's nothing but a business strategy. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, quite interesting. Okay.
I have a question. Can you go back to that screen you just came from?
Yeah.
Okay, so now from what I understand is, okay, at engage stage, with engage, it's where maybe, when the bot is running, a process is running and everything, it might need a human interaction to get to okay to continue, after it's, the process is done, right? Or during the process. Like, so that's what I understand with that, right?
Right. So that's what I said. So
Yeah, and
it's
with
not
measure,
sorry.
go ahead. So, and with measure is like, just a dashboard or feedback that gives you.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. So measure is nothing but it is UiPath Insight, okay, which is a separate product. Okay. Measure would actually create a dashboard for you. So let me play this video and real quick, and just to show you, let me know if you hear the sound as well. Do you get the sound?
No.
No.
Okay, you can go to this UiPath product.
Yeah, we'll explore that.
Yeah, so you can see, so it will generate, yes. So if I show you here, this is what you are saying. So track what matters. So your entire analytics comes in a dashboard here. You have your business impact dashboard, you have your bot performance dashboard. See, it is showing you how many bots are active, how many licenses are occupied, how many bot is going to run in next 2 minutes, which bot has failed, how many engines are connected, how many orchestrator licenses you have. Everything gets connected in a dashboard. Like within a visual appearance, you have your entire infrastructure and RPA network in front of your eyes. So that's the, you can see the top 10 robots with error. Let's say I have 30 robots. Now, which are the top 10 robots which are degrading in performance over the period of time? I can pull up a report from my dashboard. All these are connected with your orchestrator, from where you are controlling the bot. That is interface is connected with the dashboard monitor of UiPath Insight, which gives me my analytical data. Okay, even how many amount of money you have saved. Let's say you have invested $30 million for 30 robots, right? Now you need a benefit ROI. You can set your parameters or KPIs in terms of money, that every time my bot completes a process, I'm saving this money. So that also it will give you that how much money you have saved, how much time you have saved over the quarter. These are all for business insight. Whenever a company is investing a lot of money, these are nothing but management level information. Management doesn't bother whether your bot is started, failed, or collapsed. They need this.
Yeah, they look at the final numbers, right?
Yes, they need how much time it is saving, what are you achieving your goal, what is the productivity. Like they do a performance evaluation of employee, right? There's a rating of employee that happens every year. There's a performance rating. Here it's a productivity rating happens for each bot. So how much productivity is your bot engaging every month or every fiscal quarter? All these things come into picture. It's like whatever you do to a human, you do to a bot. That's it. So now let's move on to the next concept. Okay, so I think, yeah, we are almost near the time. So next thing which I wanted to show you guys is the transformation of RPA into IPA. Now, all these concepts that I talk about here with various products of UiPath, AI Engine, AI Fabric, Automation Hub, Action Center, chatbots, Insight, all these digital concepts of RPA is the reason or is the key or the driving factor of transforming RPA, that not only the robotic process automation, but we are giving it a plus point called as intelligent robotic process automation, what we call it as IPA. Now, why intelligent? Because we know robotic process generally is nothing but rule based. If you have a specific rule based, I can automate this using a rule. Now, whenever there is a decision making skill that comes in, whenever there is a cognitive service that is associated, so whenever I say that in UiPath product, I have an AI fabric, I have a machine learning model, I have an AI engine like sentiment analysis, that you give me textual data of your customers and I can tell you which customer has written positive, which customer is neutral, and which customer has written negative about you. So these are all natural language processing models of the AI, which gets into the engine, analyzes and gives me the output. Now, these are not just rule based, right? These are something which I'm doing outside my RPA environment. And this analysis or this concepts of AI plugin, what we call it is cognitive services, where we have a human brain driven decision. Like if I read a sentence, if my customer is reading about me, has written about me, I write the I go and read it. Okay, so Paul has been training 2 batches. He hasn't done much better for last 2 sessions. So this means when I read, okay, somebody has given me a negative comment. Now, this is my human ability or my brain that reads the sentence and identifies the positive or the negative sentiment associated with it. Similarly, we have NLP, natural language processing based models in artificial intelligence domain, which does this programmatically as a cognitive service. So this is something which I'm doing out of my human intelligence. I'm asking the machine to replicate the same. So that's the concept which comes in and tells me that, boss, this is no more a robotic process automation. You are, though automating it, I'm going to term it as intelligent process automation, because you are plugging in the flavor of human intelligence to it, right? So you can read out these blogs. Probably I will not sure if you can pick it from Zoom, because there are a lot of
Share that on my WhatsApp, and then I can put it in the portal.
Oh yeah,
Some,
sure. Yeah, sure. I will just do one thing. I will just save it right now here and I'll just mail it to you as well. Okay. So you can read about this, where the digital experience of the transformation of RPA to IPA happens. So I'm not going to read out through the blogs for you guys. You can just refer to it by yourself. But the purpose is, it clearly tells you what brings RPA to IPA. Okay. So how the transformation of RPA to IPA is happening. There's one more blog that I found out. I'll save this link as well and I'll send it to Bob. He can add it to the portal. So this is a very interesting diagram which I've come across. So why is IPA a better alternative to RPA? Now this is my process computer and these are my devices. Now here, if you see in the middle, I am adding a cognitive power of human intelligence. So my RPA is getting transformed into the concept of IPA, right? So if you see here, starting from, let's say, the inferences of RPA, there has been a continuous increase in trend in the demand. Now, this is a pretty interesting diagram which tells me what is the very basic difference between your RPA and IPA. So your RPA, as I have always been saying repeatedly, it's a rule in based engine. It's a workflow which runs on the rule, and we have scraping. So let's say I want to extract the entire text that is available in this page. This is what RPA helps me to do. I don't have to repeatedly go and drag and drop it every time and copy and paste it. I can have a program, specify the area and ask it to go and scrape the entire data and give it to me in a notepad. Right? So this is what the concept of RPA lies in. But the moment we talk about basic RPA, you might have a macro, you might have a screen scraping, you might have a workflow, you might have a building block, you might have a process mapping, you might have a BPM, you might have an OCR pattern recognition. These are nothing intelligent. These are all rule based. You ask me this, specify the rule, I'll do it. But what happens when IPA comes in? You have the power of AI. You have large scale processing, you have machine learning, you have AI, you have analytics, you have NLP, natural language processing, you have adaptive alternation. So all these high end technology empowers my RPA to be called as IPA, where I bring in AI, I bring in teaching versus programming. It's kind of a, how high level coding that you do, my natural language processing, my self learning and self optimization. I can create models that can learn from its mistake. That is what is called as self optimization or self learning. Able to work with unstructured data. If my data is not structured in a proper way, I can still manage it. My predictive analytics, my hypothesis generation, evidence-based learning. These are some high-end AI terms, so that gets plugged in into the concept, and then it transforms my RPA to IPA. So that's how the standalone, and this is what I wanted to show. Starting from 2018, see how the global RPA market is increasing. And this is only increasing, and this is a parabola that is continuously sharpening up because this has happened. So since this has happened, RPA to IPA, so RPA is very less chance that, there's a lot of question, would RPA, since it is booming, whether it will flop up or it will be diminishing in certain years, in the coming years or not, because every technology reaches its saturation point. But with the plugin of AI and ML and all those things, the curve has been increasing. And this is a prediction that by 2022 to 2025, the global RPA market would be almost this much. And it says what all you can do using IPA. Like if you are currently able to automate 30 to 40% of your office task in an organization, you can change it to 50 to 70. You can push your numbers. This is a research by McKinsey which says automation of 50 to 70% would be possible. A reduction in your throughput process or processing time would increase, would reduce from 50 to 60%. There'll be a reduction in your processing time. You can cut 20 to 30% of your annual run rate cost. High ROI in triple digit for most companies. So the more you expand your RPA and the more you make it scalable, your ROI would eventually increase into triple digits in dollars. That's what they're saying. So you can refer to these two articles. I'll just send it to you guys, right? And read few more. So that's what I wanted to add in today's session, that, these are the two very important concepts. Along with your RPA BA that you are doing, you should be knowing what is an IPA concept and what is hyperautomation. These are the two buzzwords that you're going to see in LinkedIn flourishing, right? So I hope this was useful to you guys as an additional concept, right? So yeah, you guys can go ahead with any questions if you have before we wind up for the day.
Great, man. Thank you so much, Paul.
Yes, Paul, I have a question.
Yes, please. Yeah.
So the role of BA, does it change with the shift of the new technologies?
Can you come again with the question? I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Like the BA, like the role of the BA, is it still gonna be the same
No.
when you have
So
RPA and IPA?
So the role of BA is not going to change, but more enhanced. So let's say you are working in any firm. Let's say you have first worked with a client who does not have a AI driven platform for discovering the process. You guys are manually doing it. Let's say you change the client and your second client has bought UiPath license of discovery. You now have a tool where you feed in your benefits, your process dot details, and it tells you which is the optimized process. It's learning for you, right? So first you did manually, now you're doing it through an AI driven engine. So
Yeah.
your work has changed from manual to technology driven, but your task did not change. You still have to identify the process out of your 20 processes in your organization. It's just that first you used to do manually, going through each and every process, talking to SME, understanding the business, blah, 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 blah. Now you have a tool where you sit, feed in the information, and the engine tells you, hey, this process is not good. Because you will set your own parameters, right? That I need 20, let's say I need 2000 hours of reduction every year. So is a parameter. So if this is your vital KPI, and if you are feeding a process of 5 minutes, it will never contribute to 2000 hours of saving in a year. So the engine will say this process is not viable for you to automate. You got the point, right? The engine is going to take the input of your requirement, then take the input of your process, run the engine at the back end with the permutation combination, just throw you the output which you do manually. Talking to people for hours and understanding the process, which one to choose. Now the question is, why should I even spend that amount of time and energy of a resource to identify a process? I can have a tool for that also. So it's all about game. How much less time you can reduce to for your entire life cycle. So let's say initially, if I have 20 functions or processes in my company or in my team, and I take 2 weeks to identify one process, then 3 weeks for development, then 2 weeks for testing. So 3 plus 2, 5, 5 plus 2, 7, and 1 week for implementation. So my one pod would come into life after 8 weeks. See the transition. Okay. Now I have a tool which can tell me which process to take in 1 hour. I'm identifying. 2 weeks I'll take for development. Okay, so 2 hours, 2 week, 1 hour, 1 week for testing, 1 week for implementation, 2 plus 1 plus 1, 4 hours, 4 weeks, 1 hour. I'm able to implement a bot and bring my process to automation. So 8 weeks and 4 weeks, 1 hour. I'm just roughly giving you a time estimate. You can calculate. Do you see the difference? How much time I'm reducing? I've cut down 2 weeks of my identification of a process into 1 hour of time. So this
Oh,
is
okay.
This is how the concept goes in.
Okay.
Right?
Thank you.
Welcome. Right. So any other questions? Else I think we're good for the day, right?
Yeah, from my end, I'm good.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm good.
Perfect. I hope this new concept should help you guys, right? You can read more about it. See, these are all vast concepts. It's not possible for me to, share all the inputs, but yes, you can read more. If you have any doubt, do let me know in the next class, but I would suggest you go spend some time and read more about this. I'll share these 2 links, but apart from this, there are 1,000 other links which talks about IP and hyperautomation. Read about them, get some more knowledge. If you need anything, you're stuck somewhere conceptually, you read something new, you can share with me. Even I can check with that. Also, I also might be, coming to know something new which I haven't known before.
Cool.
Already perfect. Thanks guys for your time. Hope you have a good day there ahead. Catch you and talk to you next week. Bye bye.